Radio Rahim here with Frank Warren. I got to tell you, one thing about boxing that you know we're having a good time is when you start seeing rematches and fights happening again. That means there's been upsets or very good action in the ring. Yeah. And yet again, we're here for another rematch. Anthony Yarde and Lyndon. I saw from the reaction online, being that I wasn't at the first fight, and it was a little underwhelming for the fans. But
yeah, I think that was down to the fact it's behind closed doors. It was an anticipated fight, but I don't think it just quite settled like it was a very close fight. Lyndon got the nod, but I think this time round it'll be different. It's a lot more on the line. Lyndon's ranked number one by the WBO. He wasn't at that time, and Anthony can't afford to lose another fight. He lost that fight. He doesn't want to be. I'm sure he doesn't. Nor does Lyndon want to lose his spot because the winner's going to become mandatory. So there's a lot on the line, and I think the fact that fans are going to be there, the atmosphere, I think they'll respond to it, and I think we'll get a really good quality fight out of it.
Yeah, we've got some intense atmosphere here at the press conference.
Yeah, two trainers we're going to get. I might put them on instead, on the undercard.
Haven't been in the sport so long, and like you said, Anthony can't afford another defeat. But losing to Klitschko the way he did was exciting, but he never got the rematch. So this will be the first time he has a chance to avenge a loss. How much do you think that plays into a fighter's mentality, knowing that there's been a guy out there that's bested him and having to come back and come again?
I think it does play on their minds. I think, fighters are proud sportsmen, and obviously they want to avenge their losses. You see that with Deontay Wilder. I mean, he did not, excuse me, he didn't acknowledge he got beaten by the better man until the final fight, the third fight. I think these two guys know different, and as I say, there's a lot on the line. And Lyndon, by the way, he for me, he won the first fight. It's a very close fight. He got the decision. But as I say, this time round, I think it's going to be really intense. Yeah, they're both good punchers. They're both good boxers. And I think that, there's a lot to lose for. There's more at stake this time than last time.
You mentioned Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder released a statement over the social media finally, showing some kind of respect, as fighters should, as we discussed up here after the fight. Sometimes that's too tough to do. But everything is up to Tyson now, what he wants to do next. And everybody's trying to sort out what he might want to do next. Give us some intel on where Tyson's mind is at.
I spoke to him yesterday. All he wants to do at the moment is spend some time with his family, with his children. He's been constantly training for 20 months. He was going to fight. That got called off. He then got caught COVID. The fight got postponed. And then he had the terrible situation with his young daughter, who was in newborn daughter, Athena. She was in intensive care unit twice. So that stops all the training. But he's been constantly doing it. So now it's quality time with his family. No rush for anything. It'll all pan out in the next couple of weeks or month, and then he'll make his decision as to what he wants to do. But there's no rush. No rush for him.
Well, he's made himself quite a star in the United States. Yeah, everybody likes to be big over there on our side of the pond there. But now the British fans are a little starved to see their returning hero. What do you think the chances are that he'll fight here next, or will he make another stand in the States?
I'd like him to fight here because he's not fought here for a while, and I know the British fans would love to get him. See him back over here. But look, at the end of the day, as I've said earlier, it's his decision as to when and where he wants to fight and who he wants to fight. He'll make his decision. He's a massive star now in the States, but he's a massive worldwide star. I mean, all around the world, he's had tremendous feedback from that fight, from the different TV companies and so forth who broadcast the fight. It was a classic fight. Best live heavyweight fight I've seen. And I think anybody who saw the fight and bought into the fight, that's how it was. And it took two to do that. It took two to make that fight. And Deontay Wilder played his part in it. And thankfully, as you just said, he finally come out and acknowledged that the better man won on the night.
Before the fight, Tyson put out his hit list, so to speak. And according to the hit list, Dillian Whyte is next up. Now, we know Dillian Whyte's got the Wallin fight coming up at the end of the month. First of all, what do you make of that Wallin-Whyte matchup? And would Tyson hold his word and fight what has to be considered the number one WBC contender for, 3 or 4 years now?
Well, first of all, as you say, Wallin and Dillian got to get the fight on. So the winner of that fight, if Wallin wins, there's a rematch clause. So Wallin won't be able to fight him because he'll be tied into a rematch with White. And I think he's going to have a tough fight, White. I think it's a tough fight for him. We will see. We'll see what he brings to the table. But you know what? Whoever wins, excuse me, and if Tyson decides to fight the winner or White, for me, there is only one real winner in that fight, and it'd be Tyson. I think Tyson is head and shoulders above everybody at the moment. He's unbelievable, and he's not got a lot of miles on the clock. I think it's about 5.5, 6 years. Sorry, out of 7 years, he was inactive for nearly 5 of those. So it's not like he's been doing a lot. He was doing a lot in between. What with COVID and when he had that time out, nearly 3 years out of the ring. So, listen, Tyson's the sort of guy who may turn around tomorrow and say they want to fight again. And if he wishes to do that, that's how it is. But
do you think there's any likely chance of that? You mentioned that as a possibility before the fight.
Look, whatever he wants to do, that's his choice. I mean, he's the guy getting in the ring, and I'll support, from my perspective, whatever he chooses to do. But he's a fighting man. He loves boxing, and he's shown for him boxing was a bit of his, for want of a better phrase, word, his saviour in all the problems that he had. It got him through everything, and he's in. I mean, he seems again he's in great condition, physical condition, and he told me yesterday he was going to get back into keeping on a diet and then maybe do a little bit of light training. But there's no rush for anything. This will all pan out, and he's the man. He's the man holding all the cards. He's the guy sitting at the table with the best hand.
Well, people sometimes don't realize that this is actually his first title defense. Yeah. The first time he's ever defended a world title. And we know he had big troubles after winning the titles the first time. And if he's talking about being with his family and this type of mindset, does it concern you at all that he might lose the plot there and decide boxing's not for him?
No, well, listen, that wouldn't concern me. What would concern me if he went back to, if he sort of slipped back to how he was, but I don't think he will, because I think he's in a good place. He's got a very strong family, he's got a very strong wife behind him, and he's got responsibilities to them, and he knows that with his children, and he's in a good place now. He's in a really good place. At that time, he wasn't in a good place. He had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I know about, and it wasn't good for him. He felt that he'd been let down in some places and so forth. But at the end of the day, now he's in a good place. Plus the fact he's a winner. It's not like he's not having to go away and think about Deontay Wilder like when he got beat. How did that happen? I mean, how do I get over that? What am I going to do? He's not in that position. He was the guy that came through. He's the guy that prevailed. He's the guy that had the will to win and did what it took to win in a very, very tough, exciting, brutal at times fight. That's what he did, and that's what he is. He's a fighter.
And Tyson Fury's always had that fighter's mentality. Felt like he's had to scrap his way to opportunities.
No one's giving him anything. No one's giving him anything. His life was in that ring. You look at that fight, the ups and downs. That's how his life was been. And it was like that canvas was like painting his life on the canvas. He was performing on the canvas, and it was he was up, he was down for a couple of counts, but he got up again and came through, and that's what he's made of. He's a true warrior, a true fighter.
I've recently sat down with Joyce, who has the same mentality. Yeah. In fact, notably, he felt that, and now it appears that the powers that be are agreeing that he got robbed from his medal.
He did.
What are your thoughts on correcting that issue and possibly Joyce being awarded the gold medal?
Give him his gold medal. I thought he won the fight anyway. I mean, I've said that on record a number of times. I watched that fight and I thought he won the fight. Look, sometimes we get bad decisions in boxing, football as we call it in the UK, football matches, referee might not get it right. But when they know there's been corruption or something's wrong, then you have to do the right thing by the athlete, by the boxer who the wrong was done to. And the only way you can do that is to give him his gold medal. Think about it. He wins the gold medal. How could he have monetized that with the gold medal instead of the silver medal, turning professional? It's hurt him. It's hurt him in his pocket and so forth. But as I say, at least give him the satisfaction of knowing that he was the Olympic heavyweight gold medalist.
And what kind of changes do you think should be made in the authorities of Olympic boxing judging and whatnot to assure that this kind of thing doesn't derail another young fighter?
Well, they've got a good guy in there, Kovacs. Who's who won a gold medal himself at the Olympic Games, was a former world champion from Hungary, Coco, as we all know him. And I think with him involved, I think we're going to see a lot of changes. I hope we will, and he will do. I mean, he's a very he's a boxing guy as a fighter. He was on the WBO for a long time, and he's got a very good very fair mentality. And I believe changes are needed, because otherwise we may lose boxing from the Olympic Games, and we certainly don't want that to happen. So a lot of things are happening, and as I say, but they have to correct their wrongs. The same with Mick Conlon, he got robbed. I mean, everybody there knew that was, and to his credit, he jumped up at the time and said, "I've been robbed. This is all wrong," and it's right.
Right. And Joe had mentioned it makes a bit of news that Joe Joyce feels like he's been on that tough path with all the resistance, while Anthony Joshua has had it easy, or at least planned out for him, a road cleared for his way to success.
Well, look, AJ did what he had to do, and he brought a lot of fans to boxing. He's been brilliant for boxing, brilliant, for British boxing. The crowds in the stadiums, Sky got behind him and done a brilliant job for him, and you take your hat to him. But it all emanated from Tyson Fury. He vacated the belts. Charles Martin wound up as a champion, who's probably the worst world heavyweight champion I've ever seen. He got the championship, and then he fought him, and got him over here. It was a good match to make. He beat him, and the rest is history. He went on and did what he had to do. But it all emanated from Tyson Fury, who beat the guy, the best fighter of his generation in Klitschko, went to the other guy's backyard, Ukrainian who was based in Germany, went to his in his backyard, 54,000 fans there, and it was a boxing lesson on Klitschko. And then everything has sort of come off. What the shame of this all is, we haven't yet had, hopefully we will, who knows down in the future, we didn't get Joshua in the ring with Tyson Fury,
right? Which
is what I'd really wanted. That was the selfish thing for me, because obviously they made a lot of money, but to show everybody what I felt, because it's my ego probably, that he was the better fighter and what he would have done with him.
Obviously, Undisputed is on everybody's mind, and it seems to be further and further away with every matchup. And we were so close. Yeah. But Joe Joyce is seldom in the conversation when people talk about...
Well, he's going to have to be. He's number one. He's got a number one ranking, so Usyk is going to have to fight him because he's the champion at the moment. He's allowed one fight in between, and that if it's a rematch with Joshua, that's what it is. And then he'll have to fight Joe Joyce. That will have to happen. And on the other side, you've got the WBA. You've got Daniel Dubois there, number one, who's with us. Obviously, he's going to be in that mix as well. So it's all interesting times. Good old Blighty, UK. We got the best of the bunch.
Quite a bit of heavyweight action going to be over here. You guys,
I grew up, it's all you Yanks. You always had the heavyweight champs. And now this side of the pond, all the Ukraine.
Do you feel Joe has been overlooked or had a tougher path than he should have?
He's had a tough path, and he's come through it. I mean, I bought his contract off a Ring Star. Queensbury bought the contract with Ring Star. We did that for a reason, because we feel he's a good fighter. And him you got to take your hat to him and Daniel Dubois. That fight was ordered by the Boxing Board of Control for the British title. Nobody would want to pull out of it, so they fought each other.
I noticed like the fighters up here did some of the talking, but as you said, the trainers did more than that. And that dust-up came when one trainer comes over to the other's locker room after a defeat and tries to show respect. I noticed that one thing that isn't often publicized is the relationship between promoters like that. Yeah. Does that kind of thing happen? Like, Tyson wins. Does Eddie Hearn, just out of respect, call him, nicely done? I
never spoke to him. Yeah. Once he rang me up. That was, I think it's pre-COVID, when I said, let's get together and make some of these fights between our two camps. But it never happened.
Are you telling me in all of these years and all this time, through all of these fights, you and Eddie Hearn only had one conversation, that one before COVID, ever?
That was it, yeah. I spoke to, I knew his dad. His dad and I were in business very briefly years ago together.
Well, I got to tell you, I've spoken to both of you quite a bit, and you're both really missing out. I love talking to you.
Well, he's missing out, isn't he? I'm not missing out on anything.
Radio Rahim with Frank Warren. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thanks.